Today, several different media outlets reporting multiple different threats being made against President Trump and his family, all while Q is telling us that a false flag has been prevented. We're going to dive right into that right now. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to Just Informed Talk. For those of you who don't know, every one of these episodes starts the same way, where I tell you how thankful I am to each and every one of you for coming here and hitting that subscribe button. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, please come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications. That way, as soon as these videos get posted, you'll be notified, because as soon as information is made available to me, I make it available to you. Now, jumping right into the latest Q post, we're going to cover a whole plethora of things today, and I can tell you that this is a crazy news cycle we've come into, and I couldn't even imagine how I can get the gravity of all this together for you guys, but let's go through it. We're going to start here. False flag prevented. Next, immigration child separation. Q lets us know in a later post that this is a typo, so don't read too much into the K. He tells us it's an actual typo, or they tell us it's an actual typo from typing on a cell phone. But it says immigration child separation. And we're going to talk about that too. Narrative change critical. Identify talking points. Distract Inspector General report hearings Korea. Iran next. Regime in trouble. People awake. Projection. These people are sick. Winning. Q. Okay, so a lot to really talk about it just in this one post. First off, telling us that some sort of event was prevented is, in my opinion, that's just good news. We don't want these things to happen, whatever they are, and whatever was prevented. There's been so many different things that I can think of that, I always think when I hear, and this is just my own personal opinion, but when I hear stories about like airports having their systems go down mysteriously for hours at a time, that there's or could be some kind of correlation between that and things going on behind the scenes that are preventing certain things from happening, which thank God for our law enforcement and our amazing men and women who serve to protect us in all facets of government, including the military. Thank God for them, because if that is the case, then I'd rather have a 4-hour delay at the airport than to have some kind of awful tragedy happen. But that's neither here nor there, because I don't have any quantitative or qualitative proof to give you that would suggest that that is what happened. But I can tell you that that's the feeling I kind of have gotten. And today is a new day, because President Trump has decided to sign an executive order that will actually prevent families from being broken up when they're put in detention after crossing the border illegally. Okay, listen, as I said in the last video, don't misinterpret it. I'm all about just following the law, and we can change the laws. We can even have executive orders written, but once that takes place, then yes, that's the new law, and okay, it's the humane thing to do. But until that happens, I'm not going to be a proponent of allowing people to come across the border illegally, because now Marco Rubio had a great tweet that he just put out talking about how not more than hours after President Trump has signed this bill, which, like I said, it will prevent border security from breaking up families when they are held in detention after crossing the border illegally. But the Democrats have already come out now and said that's not enough, and we're going to have to allow them to be released on their own, on a future court date. That you have such a high percentage of people who don't show up to those court dates, who just slip into the population and we never see them again. But then they also end up getting fake identifications and then becoming, to a degree, people who use benefits of the state. So that, to me, is why it's a complex problem, which is why it warrants this broad and inclusive debate on both sides, where we can both come to even grounds and actually pass congressional reform through the House and the Senate. And then and if it's good enough and it's fair enough, and it's not just leaving the borders open, and there's actually security, and there's actually we don't even, I will even let President Trump go if we don't have a full wall, because like he says, you don't need a wall in some places, but we need a wall, we need a barrier, and we have to have consequences for people who cross that barrier. That is what a border is. That's what makes us a country. That's what, you know, the logical argument from there is, oh, well, let's get rid of the border walls. All right, well, then let's get rid of customs at airports. Whoever, why are we checking people who are coming in from foreign countries? Why don't we just open that up and make it so that anybody can come in at any time they want? We don't need it. Why do we need to know who's coming into our country? Well, because there's obviously security threats. So, yeah, there you go. He signed this bill. The narrative change is critical. He wants us to identify the talking points. And I've identified this crazy set of stories that are coming out, obvious distractions. And we're going to go through them, especially talking about the threats against the president and his family, which I would take very seriously. I think that the Secret Service, I'm so thankful that they're protecting him, and they need to go investigate whoever these, because you have Peter Fonda talking about doing or having awful things happen to Barron Trump, the son of President Trump, and then you have some madman on the loose who's threatened to commit harm to the president, and you have all this going on, and nobody, and it's like, oh, this is just the news, and this is normal. Peter Fonda to say these awful things about Barron Trump. Oh, that's just normal. No, that's not normal. When is it going to when are people going to understand and wake up that this is some evil stuff going on? So I'll digress. All right, Iran next. So this is all about this. They're distracting from the Inspector General's report, which is basically confirming that there was a complete bias against the president at the FBI, in the DOJ, in the manufacturing of this Russian investigation. And it was all for political means, because the people running the investigations were completely biased against him, and actually talked about how they were going to stop him and how they needed insurance plans against him. And then you have the hearings where you have Inspector General Horowitz putting all this information up there and saying, look, I've written my report, and now we're going to do more investigations. Like Q told us, the Inspector General report is not even the big report. There's other investigations that are going to yield more reports that are going to prove some incredible criminality. And once we realize that criminality exists, and it's the thing is, so many of us do realize it exists, but the mainstream media won't report it. They won't report it fairly. That's why channels like this happen. That's why, I'm here giving you this news, because, guys, look, burying your head in the sand and ignoring it or trying to counter the narrative to it isn't going to change the fact that it's true, right? And that it's happening. And history, we'll see who's on the winning side of history in time. But this right now is us winning by getting this information out there. And the Korea deal. Listen, they would have had a Tinker Tape parade down Fifth in Manhattan and for President Obama. They'd probably give him 2 Nobel Peace Prizes, and they'd probably try to make him the emperor of the world. They elect him president of the United Nations or something if he had brokered this deal in North Korea. But because it's President Trump, it's like, oh, that was, a week's worth of coverage. Now we're moving on. I mean, I remember when President Obama was in office, and you would turn on the TV and it was just every story you could imagine was positive about him. And now it's the exact opposite. It blows my mind. But next is Iran. They're in the works, because think about it. We worked on that Korea deal and nobody really knew we were working on it. Now Iran's been under construction, the new deal, since well before we got out of the JCPOA, which is the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, and or also known as the Iran deal. So that's been underway, and we're the people of Iran are awake. There's a regime that's in trouble there, the hardline regime that hates America, and we're gonna win. It's all projection. The people are sick. These people are sick, Q. There you go. We're winning. All right, now the next one, Q tells us that was a spelling error. It says spelling error due to mobile Q, and that's for this word child being misspelled. Moving on. Don't think we need to spend much time on that. I saw this all over the boards yesterday, and Anons were arguing so vehemently. Some were saying it was completely false. Some were saying it's completely true. But it seems Q's verified. This picture of, I think, Miss Jackson Lee, she's one of the representatives who I think Sharon Jackson Lee, and she is a hardcore Democrat. She seems to me, given the way I've heard her talk about President Trump and others around him in his administration, that she is a vehemently staunch anti-Trumper. And this woman has a ring on. So the ANON says, after posting this picture, have a peek at her ring, just sick. Q responds, part of the club, Q. Okay. Here's the picture again, and here's the picture a little bit more blown up where you can see it more clearly. Now, what does that remind you of right there? It's a triangle that's like in an inward spiral, or an outward spiral, depending on how you look at it. But this symbolism was some of the first things that we saw when all of the WikiLeaks email came out with the code words and the code speak and the weird situations with children being delivered. So this is the stuff, the symbolism. Now, this symbol apparently, and I'm not making this up, guys. This right here is a part of an official document put out by the FBI identifying symbolism that would be used to secretly identify with one another as being a part of a group of individuals who like to exploit young children. Okay? And this symbol right here is one of their big symbols that they use. And it indicates that the person likes boys, underage boys, mind you. Now, I'm not suggesting that she has any connection to that. I'm telling you what Q said. I'm telling you the facts about what that symbol is. If you want to draw any conclusions about Miss Jackson Lee, that is up to you. I'm merely reporting to you what the information is that's been given to me. As far as this being connected to being a part of some kind of club, in Q's words. So you guys put that together as you may, but let me tell you what. In my personal opinion, I don't like to get into the area of making accusations against people when I don't have enough proof. So I'm going to refrain from that. But I'll tell you, whatever club she's a part of, I'm very curious to hear what Q is referencing and to then also have possibly people in the FBI and other law enforcement agencies examine this club a little closer. Please. If anyone is out there, happens to be watching and or knows somebody who is in that, please, let's investigate this. Let's look at it. Let's take a second and look at that. Moving on. The next post, Q says, first he gives us this article, and it's an article to this article here on Hannity.com talking about the Bureau's bias. The FBI saying top Republican has said that the FBI misled the Department of Justice with false information. Oh, shocker there, right? Like I'm shocked at that information, right? But Q wants us to reread the 302 drops. We'll read through this real quick. It says reread drops regarding 302 modifications or mod. Department of Justice forced to supply Rod Rosenstein fireworks. Rank and file testifying as informants. Hussein White House, Susan Rice staffer on record. Payne, House of Cards. These people are sick. Doctors treating Q. Gotta love that. Doctors treating. Yeah, these people are sick, and I'm glad that we got the doctors on it, if you know what I mean. Okay, so let's kind of go through this really quick. So I guess we'll start by looking at this article here. Now, what is this article saying? Well, I'll read through it really quickly. It's pretty quick. Top Republican lawmaker raised eyebrows throughout Washington this week, claiming there was a growing evidence that FBI edited and changed information submitted to the Inspector General to avoid prosecution. Freedom Caucus Representative Mark Meadows made the startling suggestion during his fiery address before Inspector General Michael Horowitz, slamming the Bureau's actions in the lead up to this 2016 race for the White House. The other thing that I would ask you to look into, there is growing evidence that 302s were edited and changed, Meadow told Horowitz. Those 302s, it is suggested that they were changed to either prosecute or not prosecute individuals, and that is very troubling. Meadows referring to the specific reports on witness interviews compiled by FBI agents and submitted to Horowitz for review. Okay, so why are we being pointed to this story? Well, there's a little bit more to it. The next thing Q says is to reread the drops, the 302 modifications. So for those of you who don't know, the 302s, I guess the forms or the way that they obtain interviews, the FBI would, of individuals. And if you lie to an FBI agent during an interview, then that can be considered a crime that you can be convicted for. And in that sense, they're asking the question, were these reports of the conversations between FBI agents and people who are being interviewed, people who are under suspicion or under investigation, were they altered to suggest that some people lied and others didn't? I.e., were they altered to say that Hillary Clinton never perjured herself? Because, I mean, I don't even think they took a report of the interview. They just did it. Like, come on. But then with General Flynn, it's like they say he lied and they brought him to court over him lying to them. I think it was basically because he confused a date or didn't tell them the right dates. So, and anyway, I think General Flynn was all more than happy to go there, and now he's going to hopefully be able to testify or if he hasn't already, and spill his guts about what's going on here, at least, and bring a lot of things to light during discovery before the trial. But when we reread the drops, this one's from April 27th, and this is one of the first ones I can find where we hear the 302s, but it's mentioned down here, and it's talking about Mueller report will contradict per Brennan tweet today. Disconnect exists. Republicans and Democrats negative for POTUS. Insurance policy giving. I mean, we knew about this already. Comey release of memo to obtain special counsel. We knew about this already too. Special counsel attack POTUS witch hunt. Obviously, that's where we're at. Special counsel Comey, Rod Rosenstein, state president of the United States not under investigation when he obviously was being targeted by the investigation. Flynn pleads guilty to non-committed crime. Yes. Stroke interviewed. Stroke page relationship with judge. Stroke page 302. So McCabe, who's number 2, Andrew McCabe. Stroke page 302 modifications. The connections to Fusion GPS. I believe it's I want to say it's one of the top officials' wives who worked for Fusion GPS during the time that the Steele dossier was basically gotten by and paid for by the DNC and the Clinton campaign. But it's asking us, did Stroke and Page, along with McCabe, work to basically modify the 302? And then the next one is here, where it's giving the fly Rod Rosenstein fly, which is from about 10 days ago. And it's talking about the 302s again in reference to President Hussein, yeah, exactly. White House, the call to the tarmac, where Bill Clinton and Loretta Lynch were there with the possible future California Governor Amanda Renteria, apparently. They were all on the tarmac. President Obama was calling, and everybody knew about this, and nobody's brought it up. They're all too afraid. They're all too implicit. They're all too guilty of covering it up. That's the real problem, it would seem. And it's saying James Comey, Andrew McCabe, Loretta Lynch, Bill Priestap, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page. These are the characters that we are putting in this story to say they're working to modify these 302s. It's suggested. It's suggested that there's possibility that they were, we know now that they were the ones making the texts that's been basically uncovered. We know that Loretta Lynch met with Bill Clinton on the tarmac. We know that the FBI and the DOJ had people involved in the Trump campaign as operatives who were inserted. We haven't verified yet whether Secret Intelligence Service in the UK was working in coordination with this operation, but it's been alleged here by Q. And then Q says, dark to light, shall we play a game? Of course. This is all a game. It's all a big chess game, and that's what we're involved in right now. So then it says, DOJ forced to supply. So it's basically saying um, there's a lot of people behind the scenes, I think, who are going to say, look, um, we have the actual information, and we're going to have to use our secret government clearances and secret uh, programs and capabilities to obtain it. But if we present it to you, you're going to be forced to supply that as the truth, right? Rod Rosenstein is in the brackets, which represents a metaphorical kill box, is what they call it. And it's saying fireworks, rank and file testifying as informants. So listen, they're all going to be exposed. And it's talking about Hussein Whitehouse and Susan Rice, who was the director of national security for President Obama. One of her staffers seems to be on the record with possibly President Hussein himself, and somehow being implicated in this 302 modification. Q says pain, house of cards. These people are sick. Doctors treating. So that's kind of like I think a play on words there, that the sick crimes and the sick alleged crimes of these individuals is being treated by the doctors who would hypothetically represent President Trump, those around him, military intelligence, and other factions, the good factions that are left over. Certainly, there's far more good people in the FBI and the DOJ than there are people who are enacting these plots basically against the president. So we commend those individuals, and we don't want to broadly paint with a broad brush the whole FBI as being corrupt or the whole DOJ as being corrupted, because it's not true. There's too many good patriots in our country to let that happen, and I believe in them wholly. And we just have to weed out these people who have obviously decided that they can game the system to their benefit. That's really what this comes down to. So here, the next post, Q is posting this picture of a previous post that Q put up saying, "Are you awake? Do you see for yourself the mainstream media equals propaganda tool of the left? Do you see Facebook, Twitter, Google censoring non-left point of views?" Yes, yes, and yes, because I'm being, oh, you don't even know. If you guys only knew what I go through with Google and YouTube and all this stuff to keep this channel, oh, it's a lot of work. Anyway, I'm sorry I had to break that, because it's just thank you, Q, for pointing this out. That this is what they do. They've targeted people with their differing opinions to be selected for. Basically, they have these false positive biases that just dragnet catch every person who doesn't have a left opinion, and then basically it can all go all the way into economic penalties against that person. And I'm not going to get into any more detail. Suffice it to say that I've felt this myself, and that's why your contributions and your help makes a big difference. And so I can just keep doing this channel, because this is what I love to do. I love spreading God's word, and I love sharing this information. So I'm going to stop ranting, because when I read this before, it just, so many different things popped into my head as I was thinking about how thankful I am that Q's pointing this stuff out. But I'll keep going. It says, "Do you see the corruption? Do you see the evil? Are you a slave? Are you controlled? Are you a sheep? Are you awake? Do you think for yourself? Learn the truth, facts. History, the Great Awakening. They are losing control. Respect opinion or attack those who dare challenge the narrative. It's right in front of you. Who are the true fascists? Who are the true racists? Why does the Antifa flag mimic that of the Nazis? Coincidence? For humanity. Wake up, learn, fight, and then fight some more. Where we go one, we go all Q." And these words just, they get me going every time, because this is what it is. This is where we're at. They see you as slaves to be controlled like sheep. They feed you like cattle, and they keep you in pasture because they want you calm and happy. They don't want you to think for yourself. They don't want you to know the truth, but we're exposing it. We were talking about these text messages for as long as I can remember, almost all the way back to nearly the beginning of Q. And we were talking about the corruption in the Clinton investigation. We were talking about all this stuff, and it's all being brought to light now. So all of those out there who keep doubting Q and saying it's all fake and it's all LARP, look, it's not about Q. It's about the truth. It's about what the situation that we have come to. So this is Q giving us a reminder, and then Q gives us another one that I think is important, especially right now. It says, "They want you divided. They call us names, they make threats, they censor, they lie, they project, they cheat, they steal, they harm. They are sick, they are evil. At some point, the streets, for them, will not be safe. Q. And look, if you're going to do this, the people in the mainstream media, they know what they're doing. They know how to control you. It's not all willy-nilly. They don't just get up there and wing it. They get up there with scripts. They get up there with teleprompters. They get up there with Freudian psychologists who have analyzed the ratings and analyzed the groups of people who would watch the content. What are those called? Test groups. They monitor the test groups and they examine how they react to certain things. And there's so much that goes in, and not to mention the stuff that they don't tell you about colors and tonal frequencies and subliminal suggestions and outwardly just suggestive phrasing. So they don't tell you about all that, but that's what they do. And there's a science to it all. And the majority of people have no idea. They don't know that their TV could make a subtone, an inaudible, not outward, like a subliminal, or a tonal frequency that can actually inhibit certain feelings, or that a subliminal message can be hidden inside of advertising, or that, colors and things can get associated with feelings that have had multiple studies. And if they combine that with certain other things, then it can create basically an imprinted behavior for you. It'll predispose you to certain behaviors. You have to be able to learn to see through it. They censor the information. They keep you in the dark. They lie to you. They project what they're doing on you. They cheat by misleading you. They steal your money through all of their incredibly crazy tactics. And it's sick and it's evil. And yeah, that's what Q's basically telling us. And if you don't believe me, let's just go through what they do. So here's a great one. They had a Chiron malfunction. And for those of you who know what the Chiron is, it's this under President Trump right here where it says what, it gives you a little thing like breaking news, President Trump signing a bill. Here's what the Chiron says. Breaking news! Manafort pleads guilty to 5 charges of manslaughter. Complete lie. Completely untrue. So somebody made a big error. And obviously, I'm sure they've come out and apologized. And if they haven't, then they should. But I'm sure they have. But guys, and this is after Q's telling us that there was apparently possibly a false flag that was prevented, thank God. And they're telling us here that they're having Chiron malfunctions where they're lying. I mean, some people watch the news, like some places have this news on without any volume. And some people just saw that and will never see another blip of it until like a week or two from now. And that kind of stuff is what's really worrisome. Compound that with how you can't even do a Google search without getting every left-leaning website and article in the world. You get 10 pages of that before you get one conservative viewpoint. I'm very concerned, and I'm glad that Q has been addressing this with Google and other companies because the media is getting to the point where it just seems like they're getting out of control. And here's a great article that I thought was a wink to Q out of the Washington Times today, saying Russian trolls, aka Q, are exploiting family separation stories to sow discord among Americans. And that was a senator who said that. Well, what senator would that be? Oh, Senator James Langford said, trolls and bots are still active on Twitter trying to deceive. They're even using the current family separation and immigration debate to sow discord among Americans. But what really stood out to me was this last line here, right? Where, these last two lines. He added, it is important for social media companies to expose it so everyone knows what is fake. And he linked to a Wall Street Journal report that detailed ongoing Russian efforts to troll hot button issues in U.S. politics, such as comic Roseanne Barr. Shout out to Roseanne Barr. I'm so sorry that she had to go through that, but she said in a tweet a while ago, and we'll look at it real quick. And over here at the real Roseanne, God bless her heart. She says, only hashtag Anons know that I fell on the sword for America and freedom. I'm happy I did it. They give me life. I'm not a fair weather friend. I am alive to fight slavery ever since I escaped Pharaoh. Keep on, fam. And thank you, Roseanne, for all of your efforts. And I'm thankful that you stood up to it. And I like this comment about Pharaoh, as in, she was basically a slave in where she was, and she's escaped that. And good for her. And what's going on in Hollywood is sick. And we're going to talk about threats being made against the President of the United States' son by Peter Fonda, of all people. And it's just a sick and disturbing story. But Roseanne here in this article about how Russian trolls, and they're obviously talking about Q in my opinion, but there you go. That's what that is. Now, this is sick. This is sick. The Office of the First Lady has had to call the Secret Service after actor Peter Fonda calls for Barron Trump to be kidnapped. And this is what he said, and it's really graphic and sick. But it says, man, I don't even want to repeat this. But I won't, because I'm not going to give it. But you guys can read it. It's right there. He basically suggests that Barron should be taken away from his mother and put into a cage with pedophiles. And if that's not sick, and if that's not a threat against the family, the first family, I don't know what is. And just because you're some Hollywood actor that nobody knows about or remembers from a long time ago, that nobody even cares about really anymore, because you're irrelevant, doesn't mean you have the right to go and make that kind of threat against the president's wife and his son. Who do these people think they are? And that's not the only thing. Here we have a manhunt underway in central Pennsylvania for a man who is accused of threatening to kill President Trump. So listen, guys, the media is definitely on, they're in their mode right now going against Trump, and you can see it. It's just plain and blatant. And I want to say congratulations and thank you to Donald Trump Jr., who just laid into Peter Fonda all day today. And I've been retweeting a lot of the stuff that he says, but, this is the big thing. Like Sarah Carter says here, I wonder if Hill, as in Peter Fonda, get the same treatment as Roseanne, and if at Sony Pictures will stop the release of his film. The most vile of comments. How sickening. What kind of person says these things about a child or anyone for that matter? So I agree 100%. And all of you out there in my audience, we have over 80,000, almost 90,000 people here that are subscribed, and even many, many more than that in people who have come and just visited this channel and watched it. So let's get the message out there that we don't stand or accept individuals. If ABC wants to treat Roseanne like the criminal of the century for what she did, which was, in my opinion, not that big a deal because she's a comedian and it was obviously a joke, even though a lot of people took it the wrong way, and I understand how they could. Why is Sony Pictures going to release a film with Peter Fonda, who actually has just made a threat against the president's family, suggesting that the son of the president of the United States should be ripped away from his mother and thrown in a cage with pedophiles? Is that the kind of business that they're running at Sony Pictures, where they endorse people who make those kind of statements? I would really like to know, and I would love to hear what you guys have to say about that in the comments. So please leave your comments down below. But that's pretty much going to be it for this episode. I want to say thank you to everybody for watching. So a couple announcements. I've been making these announcements every time. And I really, really appreciate you guys, your patience, because I know some of you, this is going to be kind of a repeat. But I will be speaking on a panel at the American Priority Conference this September 6th through 8th in Washington, D.C., and it's at the Marriott there in Washington. It's going to be a great conference. I'm pretty sure Mike Cernovich is going to be there, and there's going to be a whole bunch of other great people that you probably are familiar with. I don't know, possibly Jack Posobiec and others, and there's CJ Pearson's going to be a keynote speaker. I know Lee Stranahan's going to be there. So guys, if you want to get involved with that, go to AmericanPriority.com. Their Twitter page is @PriorityConf, And I have this pinned on my Twitter page. So if you guys want more information on that, you can come meet me in person or meet any of those other people that I've just named in person as well. So that's a cool thing. If you want to get more information on that, I certainly suggest you do. Now, also, I have the GoFundMe for creating Just Informed News, and I'm happy to say that progress is being made. I've pretty much got the hosting and stuff going. The reason that the goal is so high, though, guys, is that I'm trying to secure a certain domain name, and I don't want to say which one it is, but it is quite expensive. So if you guys come here and contribute at gofundme.com/justinformedtalk, that makes a big difference, and you guys can help get this website up. And I'm hoping to launch by the conference, by September, maybe before. Hopefully, if the funds come in before that, then we can get the website, the scheduling for the website being launched moving forward. But I'm trying to coincide that right now with the conference, so I can kind of announce it there and have it fully up and functional and get all the bugs out and all that stuff. So thank you for everyone who comes and supports me there. Now, if you're looking for a way to support the channel itself, the best way to do it, it's the easiest way to do it, it's free to you, and it helps me out big time, is to come here if you haven't already and click the big red subscribe button. When you click that button, it makes a huge difference. If you haven't clicked it already and it's so easy, just come do it. It makes a huge difference for this channel. So thank you for everyone who does that. The second best way, my favorite way, is to scroll down at the end of this video, leave your thoughts, theories, and insights in the comments, because we try to have our own QAnon research board at the end of each one of these videos where we talk about what's happening in the news. We talk about these events that are correlated back to Q and what the Q post could mean. All of those things comprise a plethora and a huge amount of different topics. And there's so many thoughtful and great people who participate every video down there. And I suggest that even if you can't comment, scroll down and read through the comments, because you're going to find out something you didn't know when you first started this video here. Now, if you're looking for a way to support the channel itself financially, and trust me, I depend on what I get from Patreon because it makes a big difference in the overall sum of the equation. But Patreon, patreon.com/justinformedtalk, or search justinformedtalk. Come here to this landing page. You can become a patron. It's just a monthly donation, and it makes a huge difference. Every little bit helps, and it all adds up. So even if you don't think you can give enough or whatever, just come here and you can give a little bit. You can give, like, I think as less as $1 a month. But that makes a huge difference. It makes it so that I can keep running this channel every day, and I don't have to depend on YouTube, and I don't have to depend on what could or could not happen with my channel. That's why this website's so important. That's why the Patreon page is so important, because all this stuff is going to help me keep this channel going no matter what. Whether or not YouTube keeps me on there or not, they seem to have no problems with me now, so that's good. But I don't know what the future is going to hold. I do my best to follow all their rules, and I'm still here. So it seems to be working out well for now, and I'm thankful for that. And speaking of being thankful, let's talk about what is the most important thing. The whole reason I do this show, it's to spread God's word with you, to give you the knowledge that his grace is greater, and that your life is, it's so great. You have so much ahead of you. You got so many good things coming your way, and God is going to keep delivering us and keep vindicating us against the evil that is out there, because that's what we're doing every day. We're being vindicated not by just the truth, but by God and you have to see God's wonderful glory in all of the things that are happening, and all this evil and all this despair and all this sick, twisted, demented, perturbed world that we live in, where we have to cover these subjects every day. We're talking about people being involved in weird clubs, and we're talking about people who say awful things about the president and his family, and have made threats against them. In examining that, it's easy to get lost in that and to get wrapped up into it, and to let our emotion dictate, oh, well, we're angry and we're upset and we're going to seek retribution, and we're going to take all of these things to heart, and really go out and do something stupid or rash. But that's not what God wants us to do. God wants us to recognize the beautiful things, the good things, the positive things that are coming out of all this. For instance, with what's going on here in the media, and the more they lie about Trump, the positive is that it just shows who they are. It shows what depths they're willing to go to. And the positive that can be taken out of with even people making threats like this is that they show their true colors. And it's never going to be a positive in my mind to make a threat like that against the president or his family, especially with these psychos out there, like this guy who's made the threats, who's on the manhunt for, and then also with Peter Fonda and his just abhorrent comments. But it shows who they are, at least, and it shows society, because I don't think society at large embraces any of that. Even on the left, I mean, the majority of people on the left just don't really realize, I think, that they're in it. They're in this machine, and they're being manipulated. Because I would pose to you this, that pretty much everyone on the right are free thinkers. We don't subscribe to one agenda. We don't get together and have meetings and say this is exactly what we're going to follow. And it seems the more the left does that and tries to split off into little factions, that it just becomes they're getting to be militarized, and they're beginning to become fascist-like. And the more the left or the more the right does it, the more we become enlightened, and the more we become have a broader perspectives, and we don't devolve like that. So it's a weird dichotomy between left and right in our country today. But I think the left, most of the people on the left are good-hearted people. They've just been misled. And the people on the right seem the most level-headed because they use rational thought, and they use critical thinking, and they don't subscribe to a script. They subscribe to the information they go out and gather. But God wants us to have a thankful heart, and I have to share Psalm 138 because it's one of my favorite psalms. It can bring tears to your eyes if it's pretty much any time, because it's just a pretty beautiful psalm that speaks to your heart, and I want to share it with you. It's called A Thankful Heart, by the way. It says, I will give you thanks with all my heart. I will sing your praise before the heavenly beings. I will bow down toward your holy temple and give thanks to your name and your constant love and faithfulness. You have exalted your name and your promise above everything else. On the day I called, you answered me. You increased strength within me. All the kings on earth will give you thanks, Lord. When they hear what you have promised, they will sing of the Lord's ways. For the Lord's glory is great. Though the Lord is exalted, he takes note of the humble, but he knows the haughty from afar. If I walk in the thick of danger, you will preserve my life. From the anger of my enemies, you will extend your hand, your right hand will save me. The Lord will fulfill his promise for me. Lord, your love is eternal. Do not abandon the work of your hands. And those words just, they hit me right in the heart, and I hope that they do that with you too, because this is what God wants us to do. Be thankful. Trust in God. Know he's there for you. He's going to hold your hand and deliver you. When you walk in the thick of danger, God will preserve your life from the anger of all your enemies. And with his right hand, as he extends it out to you, he fulfills his purpose for you. His love is eternal, and we should never forget that. And don't forget that God never abandons the work of his hands, and you are just that. So even if you have lost touch with God and you're not as strong in your faith as you once were, and you're doubting it, and whatever it is, or you're going through a hard time, or whatever the situation, just remember God's there. And he's always been there, never left you. All you have to do is open up that dialogue with a simple prayer, and God will be there once again. So I want to thank everybody for watching. That's pretty much it for this episode. Again, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, now's a great time to do it. Come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button. Also, I encourage you all to come back and watch these videos. If you want to get caught up on what's going on with the QAnon movement, and if you don't know what QAnon is and you're kind of scratching your head at a lot of this, watch this video or share it with your friends. Even if you know what QAnon is, there's a lot of information in there that you can use. But that's going to be it for me. If you don't take anything else away from this episode, just remember, have a thankful heart. And look to God in everything you do, and you will be successful. So God is there for you, and he loves you. But that's going to be it for me. Again, thank you so much for watching. This has been Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed, and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.